Hey guys, welcome back to Trek on the Tube. As you can see, I'm finally caught up with all my reviews. There's only this one left, the Orville Season 2. Now before we get into this, I do want to remind you that no matter how hard I try to remain objective and focus on the technical aspects of every show or episode I review, a review is still very subjective. It's ultimately just an opinion. My personal enjoyment and entertainment counts a lot. Now last time when I reviewed Season 1, I got a surprisingly high dislike ratio compared to the rest of my videos, and I mean that's most likely because I'm not a fan of the show and people were expecting mainly positive comments. All I can say is these videos reflect my opinion. They don't necessarily have to reflect yours, and I'm not trying to change your opinion either. I'm just adding my 2 cents to the discussion. Second little thing I want to address, I am aware that the first few episodes of Season 2 were released in an order not originally planned by the production team. I won't go into the details or even mention it again in this video because frankly it has no impact on this review. I just wanted you guys to know that I know. So the Orville Season 2, what do I think? Well, it's an improvement. It's not necessarily a good show yet, but this second season is definitely an improvement over the first. I mean, if we were to check out my very professional and highly respected TV show rating system here, I'd have to say that the Orville Season 2 sits nicely at average, whereas Season 1 was mediocre. Of course, this is generally speaking. Some Season 2 episodes are absolute garbage, I'm talking Primal Urges, for example. Others are just awkwardly executed ideas that could have been so much more, Sanctuary or Identity Part 2. But on many levels, you can feel that the show is growing and evolving in terms of character development, storytelling, and technical prowess. Thematically, however, the show has always been on its A-game. There's absolutely no denying that. I mean, the themes they tackle are deep and important. It's the way they execute them that often is the problem. I mean, let's talk about Sanctuary for a bit, just as an example. It's established in the first season that the Moclan people is made up of only males. Now they're still able to reproduce, they lay eggs, it's all very interesting and alien. The concept is actually kind of new. But very quickly it's shown that, contrarily to what we've been told, there are in fact also females that are born into their society. Most to practically all of which undergo a sex change treatment at birth, not only desired by the parents but also enforced by the Moclan government. And thus, actual adult Moclan females are very rare. Sanctuary from Season 2 builds on this. It's about a hidden planet on which there are primarily female Moclans. You see, it's explained that there are in fact a lot more females born every year than the government is telling people, and many parents refuse to impose the sex change on their children. These parents then flee with their daughters to the secret planet, effectively breaking Moclan law. Thematically, the episode is about oppression, sexism, the individual's rights, and it also presents to us this moral dilemma that the Union of Planets has when the secret Moclan planet asks for its independence. The themes are good, great even. The subject matter is not the problem because, I mean, let's face it, these are issues that need to be addressed in the real world. But the way they tackle the problem is so wonky that the episode just doesn't really hold up. Everyone focuses so much on the reason why these people fled their planet that they forget that it's not the first question to ask. As hard as it may seem, the first thing to go over is whether or not these people were allowed to leave in the first place. Under Moclan law, they weren't. Yes, they're fleeing an oppressive system and we feel for them, but the apparently very hypocritical Union accepted Moclan law where they integrated them into their organization. Thus, since the parents that fled are technically criminals, the Union should simply honor the mutual agreement with the Moclan government by letting them deal with this as an internal affair. Captain Mercer at one point speaks of values the Union was founded on, but that can be taken both ways. Were the values to respect and honor all cultures? If that's the case, then the Union is not allowed to oppose themselves to the will of the Moclan government. Or were the values in fact to protect all life in its infinite diversity, which to us the audience seems more logical, but in universe it couldn't be, because in that case the Moclans would have never been accepted into the Union in the first place. Now you understand what I mean when I say the themes are good, but the execution is not. I shouldn't have to go down this path of thinking, wait a minute, this is not the question to ask. The episode should do that on itself. It should be written in such a way where this question doesn't come up. It should be just about how these people are being oppressed. The reason why I insist on this is because it's not just an isolated incident. Take All the World as Birthday Cake. It's an episode I actually quite enjoy that presents to us an alien species that locks up individuals depending on what astrological sign they're born under. That, in itself, is an interesting concept. But the crew of the Orville find themselves judging the species, promoting their own ideals, and end up hatching a plan that will ultimately affect the development of this newly space-capable species. The episode is morally ambiguous, which I guess is fine. It makes makes for good discussion, and that's why I liked it. But most of all, the episode is biased. The episode doesn't say, hey, astrology, pros, cons, what do we all think? It says astrology's dumb, and so are you for believing in it. Look, I don't believe in astrology, but an open-minded show that is trying to lead by example should really be more open-minded. That being said, The Orville has a good heart. It still means well. And it has great characters. It's the characters that really save the show. All of the actors have settled into their roles. They got rid of Alara as main and replaced her with basically a better version. Better actor, better written character, better chemistry with the rest of the crew. All of these characters are friendly. Even if the adventures they have are sometimes problematic, you still want to come back and see them have those adventures. You want to see them interact. The show did also improve a lot when it comes to humor. I mean, it's not funnier, per se. I wouldn't even call it funny, but it is fun. And at least the jokes are no longer a problem that actually weigh the show down. On the contrary, they add a welcome lightheartedness to each situation. I haven't laughed while watching The Orville, but it does manage to grab the odd smile. Okay, you know what? I'm actually being an asshole because by the end of the season, there were a few jokes that I actually quite enjoyed. Boris smoking cigarettes, being addicted to that. Boris and Yafit dancing in the club, I thought that was good. And they have this holographic video game that Malloy and the captain are playing. I enjoyed that as well. While we're on the subject of Malloy, let me just shout out actor Scott Grimes, because this season, my god, he was amazing. I mean, seriously, in episode, I think it was 10, Blood of Patriots, I was moved by his performance. He was telling Tala about the situation. It was a gripping moment, seriously. I mean, I love it when they do this. He's a comedic character, he's kind of dumb, he's kind of, I don't know, he's like the dumb guy of the ship, and they kind of switch it on you, they flip it on you, and they give him these emotional arcs, and I think it was great. It was really good. It's good character evolution, and great performances. Alright, moving on. From a technical standpoint, the show is not exactly on the level of what one would expect from a modern-day science fiction show. I'm talking everything. The directing is quite basic, uninspired. It gets the job done, but it's not noteworthy. The sets are very clearly sets. The costumes feel pretty cosplay. None of this is necessarily bad. It's just not, I don't know, it's just not. Some of the CG, however, is terrible. Mostly the Union shuttles, I don't know why. Or this plant, goddamn look at this plant. Or some of these cityscapes, but then it's not all terrible. On the contrary, the space battles, fit. Other cityscapes as different ones. Some of this stuff is absolutely amazing. Same goes for the makeup, by the way. Ever since season 1, the makeup on the show has been outstanding. Only very rarely do we see a problem around the eyes or at the neck. And the music, the music is pretty good as well. Guests. Guests are a sort of cheat code that the Orville likes to use. You don't need them, but if you put them in your show, it kind of adds a little something. And I don't mean that in a bad way, believe me. I go into the Orville looking forward to discovering which guest star they'll have next. Listening to the voices to try and figure out who the actor is behind the mask is half the fun. And season 2 was full of them. Robert Picardo and John Billingsley for starters, the doctors from Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Enterprise respectively, in the same episode no less. Tim Russ, also from Voyager, Marina Sirtis from The Next Generation, Tony Todd from The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, but it's not all Star Trek guests. Patrick Warburton and Jason Alexander from Seinfeld appear in full makeup. And goddamn, Bruce Willis himself is that crappy CG plant we just talked about earlier, and it's ridiculous. I love it. I absolutely love it. The Orville has its ways of making you come back. It knows what you want. It knows what you want. It knows that you want a terrible CG plant Bruce Willis. So there's good and there's bad, pros, cons, positives and negatives. That's why, as it stands, my opinion on the show is that it's average. Smack dab in the middle. And I wish I could leave it at that. I really do. But I have to talk about this. I have no choice. Last season I mentioned how the show blurs the lines between being inspired by something and copying something. I went on to compare the show not only to Star Trek, but also other current science fiction TV series, such as Black Mirror. Now, frankly, Black Mirror has gone bad, if not bullshit, so let's forget about that. But the Orville is still straight up copying Star Trek. There's no other way of putting it. There's no other way of interpreting it. Alright, I'm not one to focus on ethnicity or gender or religion or whatever, but for the sake of, one of these examples, I'm gonna point it out. The Orville took the black guy from the bridge and made him chief engineer for season 2, just like with Geordi in The Next Generation. The Orville switched out their security chief by the end of season 1, beginning of season 2, just like Tasha Yar in The Next Generation. The Orville went from having a religious, green-shipped warrior race as the main enemy to having a race of robots as the enemy, whilst the Krill then became frenemies. Just like how Star Trek made their religious, green-shipped warrior race, the Klingons, become frenemies in the same show as a race of cyborg enemies appeared. Am I the only one noticing this? The Orville hired actor Penny Johnson-Gerald, who we all know as Cassidy Yates from Deep Space Nine, to play the role of Dr. Claire Finn. In the Orville, she's in a relationship with a being designated as the emissary of his people, just like how she dates Cisco, aka the emissary in Deep Space Nine. Come on. The Orville establishes a new character in the beginning of Season 2, Lieutenant Tyler. Turns out Lieutenant Tyler is a Krill spy disguised as a human. She also gets into a relationship with the show's main character. Just like Lieutenant Ash, Tyler is a Klingon spy disguised as a human in a relationship with the show's main character in Discovery. Goddamn, this is insane. I mean, seriously, if the similarities between this video game and Discovery can trigger friggin' legal action, how come nothing has happened here? Maybe I'm just overreacting. Look, I truly don't know if all of this is just meant to be Easter eggs or whatever, but ultimately it ends up taking away from the show's uniqueness, and that's a shame. It's a goddamn shame. Okay, that's it. The Orville is still not exactly a good show, but it's no longer exactly a bad one. The scripts could use a little work, but the characters are compelling. What the show really needs to do is establish its own identity. Otherwise, it's gonna have trouble surviving in a world where science fiction seems to be making a comeback. Multiple Star Trek shows, Lost in Space, The Expanse, Another Life. How well will the Orville be able to hold off the competition? It also needs to find a way to get rid of this amateur feel. I mean, the whole show feels very amateur, and that takes away a lot from my enjoyment of the show. Anyway, what did you guys think of Season 2? Did you even watch it? Are you guys excited for Season 3? What do you guys think about the fact that now, Disney owns Fox, and so the Orville, which was on Fox, now belongs to Disney, so they're just throwing it on Hulu, and you have to pay to watch it. Will you be paying to watch it? Were you not aware? Do you not care? Etc. etc. I want to know. I'm truly intrigued by this whole situation. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and that's about it. Live long and prosper.